guys, it's Danny. Today we're gonna take a little tour of the orchids that I grow outside. One of you guys actually asked me to make a video talking about the orchids that I grow outside, so I'm gonna show you all of them and talk a little bit about my experience so far with them. This is the second year in which I grow them outside. We are going to stay inside because it's very noisy right now outside, which is also one of the main reasons why I don't usually film outside. The light is great, but the noise is just way too annoying. Anyway, with that said though, let's start with the Vanda Orchids, which I already talked about pretty recently, and many of you guys know that I do grow them outside. Vanda Orchids are hot-loving orchids, so they are just perfect for my climate. I find them to be a lot more resilient than many, let's say, garden plants because they're epiphytic. So as long as I maintain them in shade and not in scorching sun, everything should be okay, even if the root system is not cooled down. One of the big issues that I have with my terrace and with my potted plants is that I cannot give them lower temperatures around their root system. Well, with orchids, generally this does not matter because they're not terrestrial, so they're not really used to having a much lower temperature around their root system. The roots of orchids, epiphytic ones that is, are exposed to the heat and to the light just as the leaves are. So from this point of view, it really has nothing to do with the temperature outside. And I have to say, I did notice a major difference in my Vanda orchids ever since I started to grow them outside. Now, last year was the trial and error year, and sadly with this climate, it's not a good idea to play around, and I learned that the hard way. I did manage to burn my vandas pretty badly. I lost my entire Tillumnia collection, hence this year they're all inside and they're doing much better than they would outside. And with the vandas, I discovered that they actually require less bright light than they would inside, because everything outside, no matter if it's shady, it's still brighter than my growth space. Outside, I do have buildings reflecting the light all of the time. As long as the sun is in the sky, the vandas have light. The sun doesn't really need to hit them directly. That being said, they are receiving direct sunshine in early morning. It goes away at 8 or 8:30, so from around 6 o'clock in the morning to 8, they do have direct sunshine, but it's very mild. They won't burn in this amount of sun, but they did redden up. So even with early sun, they still produce anthocyanin, redden up. Take precautions so they don't get burned, but everything is okay. Other than that, I could say they receive very bright shade. At the moment, I am watering my vandas with the hose with normal tap water, and everything is going great. I'll share with you down below a video that I made in which I installed those little pouches with fertilizer. So far so good, but it's a long process, so I cannot say if the fertilizer actually works, if they're receiving enough nutrients, and so on and so forth. So far they look good, but usually deficiencies and problems occur in months up to a year, so I have to go with them through the summer and throughout the year to be able to better tell if the pouch idea works. It's impossible in a month or two to develop a deficiency, especially with the very slow growing Vanda orchids, but overall they are nice. Some of them are blooming, some of them are spiking, and pretty much all of them are recuperating ever since last year. I think though that from now on I should not have any more issues with the location that I have for them. I also purchased a barbecue cover. It's a barbecue hut. It has this metal framing. I removed the textile and I just use it as a very big hanger for all of my vandas, and it does the trick. In this setup, I water my vandas twice a day, in the morning and at night. And I'm sure that at this point some of you will say, but Danny, hold on. Aren't you the one who says never put water in the crown and in between the joints and so on? Yes, I am, and I still maintain that. But you see, most of my viewers are actually home growers. Either they don't have a garden, either they don't have the proper climate to grow their orchids outside. Whatever the reason might be, statistically speaking, most of my viewers just grow orchids in their home. And inside a home, things are very different. Outside, and especially for me because I live on an island, it's always breezy, so the water doesn't really stay in the crowns and in between the leaf joints all that much. Also, it's very hot. Even in the nighttime, temperatures really don't go lower than 26 degrees Celsius. So again, water is supposed to evaporate pretty fast due to the wind, due to the temperature. So those bacteria and pathogens don't have enough time to remain in the joints and in the crown to create issues, even if I water my vandas every single night. Now, everything will change even outside when temperatures start to go lower, but that's gonna happen in November, so I'm not worried. So yeah, that's why I can water my vandas pretty much whenever. Do not do this if you grow your vandas in a home, or if your climate is just not as hot, not as windy, maybe your environment is very, very humid. So yeah, you might have issues if you water your vandas at night. It's all about context. None of us have identical environments, so you always have to adapt to your environment. Next up, the Cattleyas, which are the second most heat tolerant orchids that I have. And they're second to the vandas only because there are some individuals in this family which really do not tolerate heat. Some of them are even cooler to intermediate growers, such as the Sophronides hybrids. The vast majority of my Cattleya types are hot growing species or hybrids, so most of them do reside outside during summertime. Now, the Cattleyas receive pretty much the same conditions as the vandas. Although they're not in the very same location, they do receive direct sunshine only very early in the morning, and afterwards just a bright shade, reflected light, all of that good stuff, and it's absolutely enough. With Cattleyas, same story as the vandas. Every spring when I put them outside, even if the sun only shines on them for like 40 minutes or so and it's very early in the morning, they start to redden up. They prepare for the worst, but they never actually burn. And as the summer passes, that red tends to calm down a little bit. They never become super green. If their natural pigmentation leans a little bit towards red, some of them never go red because anthocyanin is not present with everybody in the same quantities. Again, with the Cattleyas, ever since last year, I discovered that it makes such a huge difference to grow them outside in the summertime. And well, for me, it's spring, summer, and autumn, really, that I'm really having the best growth on Cattleyas that I've ever had. And yes, some of them are stressed, but if I grow them outside during the warmer months, I discover that they just bounce back a lot faster. The ones that are healthy seem to be producing multiple directions of growth, which never happened indoors. And overall, they just look better, bloom better. Quite a few of them are actually producing buds and sheets at the moment. So I'm really looking forward to the month of August. I don't think they're gonna be in bloom in July, but we have enough in July anyway. But in August, I'm expecting to have quite a few cats in bloom. As for the care they receive, the Cattleyas are not watered every day. They don't receive tap water. They don't have that fertilizer pouch. They're actually watered exactly like the ones in my growth space. A little bit more frequent because it is hotter outside. Makes sense, water evaporates. But I still use my spray pump. I use the MS2 fertilizer with them, and pretty much they get watered whenever they're dry, but I make sure not to let them sit way too dry for way too long. They really don't appreciate that too much in this climate, especially. They grow, let's say, at a much more constant speed when I maintain them right above the bone dry limit. And I discovered that works best for my Cattleyas. If I let them dry too much, they're gonna be perfectly fine, but they're gonna get wrinkly. The new growths will just slow down a little bit, but enough for me to tell. Anyway, it's not a happy moment for them when they become way too dry. Cattleyas are known to be very tolerant to dryness, and people kind of take advantage of that, in my opinion. I don't think they enjoy it way too much. And again, it has to do with climate, especially in a very dry, warm, hot climate. Letting them be bone dry for way too long because article says so, I don't think it's a good idea. So I maintain my cats a little bit more moist, and they seem to appreciate it a lot more than if I let them dry out. I'll show you one of them which I need to repot because I made a mistake. I didn't put enough sphagnum moss in her pot. This is the Serena O'Neill, and all the time she dries up way too fast, and I just have issues staying on top of her watering needs, which are different from everybody else. And you can see the growth, you can see the stress. it's just not working out. So I really do need to do something about her medium, add a little bit more moss, just to make my life easier, just to put her in the same rhythm with everybody else. But yeah, that's the effect of not watering properly. Even a Epidendrum or Cattleya type, which are known to be very drought tolerant. So Cattleyas will always and forever go outside whenever it's warm. In the winter time, the cats and the vandas do struggle. In my climate, it gets a little bit too cold for them. And when I say a little bit too cold, I say about 3 months of nights going under 8 degrees Celsius. And if I'm terribly unlucky, we will have some of those winds which simply makes a little frost happen on top of water puddles, which is not a good idea. Plus, it could rain, the wind could blow it on my terrace, and I could have some serious rotting issues at those temperatures. So everybody comes inside for 3 months, 4 months maybe out of the year. When everything is safe outside, everybody goes back outside. And it's very sad when everybody's crammed in the grow space, but I'm so happy and relieved whenever I have to put them back outside once again. Alrighty, let's move on. So the cats and the vandas always will be outside. They're very hot tolerant orchids. I have no issues with them. Now this year I decided to keep some Dendrobiums outside as well. I'm keeping the winter rest types of Dendrobiums, such as the nobilis and also the anosmum and perishi. Funny fact, the perishi was in bloom, yes, in the middle of summer, because he's special, I guess. He needs to get into the growth rhythm, and I'm hoping that growing him outside in the warmer months will reset a little bit his internal clock, because right now it's a little bit all over the place. He should not be in bloom right now, but it is the first year in which I'm growing these orchids outside. So far so good. I am curious to see how much they will grow, how much their growth season will be extended or will be shortened. So I cannot really tell much at this point. It's only been 2 months, 3 months ever since they're outside, and we'll see what happens throughout the year. But another group of Dendrobiums, which again will always be outside during the very warm months, are the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis types, which again grow so much better outside. In the winter time, they really suffered because there wasn't enough light for them. It was a little bit too intermediate too cool for them. And outside, of course, I think they would not enjoy the temperature in the winter time, so I have to bring them in. But I'm seriously considering finding a place for them, maybe even in the house which has more light, because last year they suffered inside the growth space and I would not put them back this winter. But outside, as you can see, they're starting to flourish once again. They're a little late with their growths because of the winter spent in the growth space. New on the terrace this year is my Grammatophyllum, which is a new orchid as it is, and I really do enjoy how beautiful he grew outside. He enjoyed the morning light. He sits together with the Cattleyas pretty much on the same line, and he only receives direct sunshine in the morning and then bright shade. I do believe I see a flower spike, so that's great. I do like how he's growing. He needs more water than the cats. He has a huge root system, so I need to water him every 2 days, and when I do so, I kind of fill half of the pot, to be fully honest, or maybe a quarter of the pot. So yeah, I sit him in water, and in 2 days, he's bone dry, and the pseudobulbs are shriveling. I'm not even joking. He's such a drinker. I was expecting the Catasetums, which reside next to him, yes, they're outside this year. I was expecting them to require more water, but no, the Grammatophyllum takes the cake. The Catasetums are doing okay, but again, it's the first year that I keep them outside and I want to see how they do. And this is because in the growth space, I have some issues finding a proper place for them. I would rather put something else in the place where I would put them, because they take so much space. In the winter, they take no space because they go into their dormancy, they lose the leaves. I can keep them under the table if I so desire, so it's not a problem. The problem is in the growing season. They're just too big for the good spots in my growth space. So I decided to try them outside. They are an ant magnet, but it's okay. My ants don't actually bring other pests and stuff like for other people or in other places in the world. So my ants are okay, and the Catasetums are known for producing a lot of happy sap. This year I'm also trying these summer blooming orchids outside for the very first time. And while with the others, I could tell from the get-go that things are going nice and things are actually evolving way better than in the growth space. Well, with the phals, I cannot tell. I don't see any difference. I don't feel like they're doing badly outside. They're supposed to be heat-tolerant orchids. They're hot-growing orchids, actually. So they're growing vegetatively. They're going nice. But I cannot say that it's better or worse. I think it's just the same, identical growth as they would have had in the growth space. So this is an experimental year for them. I'm not sure if the outside world will benefit them or not. Maybe they will take more time, but they're the first which didn't really respond like at all, in no way, to the outside world. They are not doing worse, they're not doing better. They're doing just okay, just like they did all of these years. So for now, I can't tell, but I'm trying them out as well. And I think that's about it with the orchids that I have outside. Oh, there are also a few radican type epidendrums. I don't have many of them, but they do enjoy the heat as well. Also some other vandaceous orchids such as the arachnis, and I think that is about it. So the major groups are the Cattleyas and the Vandas, and I'm trying this year the Catasetums and the Dendrobiums and see how they do. And I think it's time to end. Thank you so much for watching this video and suggesting this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and you know the drill. Like or dislike this video below, subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, Q&As, and other fun orchid subjects. And if you like to support the channel, do consider visiting the merch store down below. On the 21st, the Nelly Eiler merch goes away forever. It is the last week in which it will be available, and in a month or so, or maybe a little more, another collectible will come. We'll see who it will be, but yeah, the Nelly Eiler is going away. So if you want anything, you have a few more days to order. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!